You know, if there's one thing you can absolutely count on in modern American politics, it's this. Every time a progressive Democrat invokes the Founding Fathers and American freedom, well, that will immediately be followed by a proposal that reduces American freedom and is an insult to the Founding Fathers. On December 8, 2016, the most corrupt politician in Washington made a speech at the dedication of a portrait of the second most corrupt person in Washington.
After the Constitutional Convention, it's well known, Benjamin Franklin was asked what form of government the new nation would have. A republic, he replied, if you can keep it.
Now, on to the antithesis of everything Benjamin Franklin and the Founding Fathers stood for.
The epidemic of malicious fake news and false propaganda that flooded social media over the past year.
Now, that part is true. Many videos showing Hillary Clinton to be a warm, trustworthy, and tough presidential candidate flooded YouTube, Facebook, and all the rest throughout 2016.
It's now clear that so-called fake news can have real-world consequences.
Like causing liars, traitors, and felons to lose presidential races.
This isn't about politics or partisanship.
Of course it is.
Lives are at risk.
In other words, I damn near committed suicide a month ago.
Lives of ordinary people just trying to go about their days, to do their jobs, contribute to their communities.
You know, selling top-level government favors for cash or storing top-secret emails on private servers and copying them onto the computers of noted underage girl texting perverts, that kind of thing.
It's a danger that must be addressed, and addressed quickly.
By more government.
Bipartisan legislation is making its way through Congress to boost the government's response. It's imperative that leaders in both the private sector and the public sector step up to protect our democracy and innocent lives.
In other words, no lying, vile, race, class, and sex-dividing megalomaniacs should ever have the presidential coronation stolen from them by the free flow of information ever again. Now, one of the fake news stories that Hillary claims cost her the election was a completely made-up transcript widely shared in which she called the American people a bucket of losers. That fake news turned out to be absolutely false. She did not call the American people a bucket of losers. She called them a basket of deplorables. Now, you can see how this hideous fake news lie about calling them a bucket of losers likely cost her the election. Or maybe the Russians did it, or WikiLeaks. Maybe one of these sources, releasing actual recordings, emails, and transcripts, caused Hillary to lose the election by using illegal means to report the truth, when we all know that had they operated legally, like CNN for example, the truth could be safely suppressed by the objective, real news outlets with their skyscrapers and layers of fact-checkers and editors, which objectively and impartially do things like sneaking upcoming questions to Hillary in advance of the CNN debate. But if it was in fact the Russians, I wonder where they could possibly obtain top-secret information concerning Hillary Clinton. I wonder if it occurs to her that the stolen email she claimed cost her the election just might have come from the unsecure private server that she set up to shield her corruption from the prying eyes of the American people. Now, maybe all this noise about a few fake news stories is there to distract us from the real scandal, which is that all of the network news stories we saw during 2016 were fake news. Any time that Hillary was not confronted about her on-camera lies regarding her email server, well, that was a fake news story. Every time a reporter asked a question about her grandchild, instead of burrowing into the pit of corruption that is the Clinton Foundation, well, that was a fake news story too. Maybe all of this fuss is to turn us away from the realization that everything we hear from the mainstream media, from the earth is dying hysteria down to mom and pop bakeries in Oregon, is all fake news reported by, presented by, edited by, and spun by the mainstream media, which has devolved into the publicity department for the Democratic Party in general and the progressive movement in particular. Or maybe this is all a way to get conservative news sources to shut up. White House correspondents for the New York Times, Washington Post, and other highly credible fake news outlets are mortified that Donald Trump would bypass the terminally corrupt and dying industry that gave him a 30-point electoral headwind and tweet policy directly to the American people. White House correspondents say it's the end of democracy. I say it's the end of White House correspondence. I say that 80 million Americans walking around with high-definition television cameras in their pockets and thousands of news sources reporting the actual truth is the rebirth of a long-dormant democracy and not the end of one.